I used DeepSeek Harness to build this dashboard from which I run my entire content operation. 7 panels, and I built all of it by just asking. In this video, I'm going to show you why DeepSeek Harness is the best coding tool for agentic dashboards, and I'll walk you through how you can build one of these yourself no matter what your underlying workflow is. The beauty of this agentic OS is that it's workflow agnostic. If you're running lead gen, client delivery, or anything else, you built the same foundation and the remaining floors are customized as per your workflow. I didn't believe in Agentic OS for a while, and a little bit into the video, I'll tell you what changed my mind, and it isn't just the dashboard itself. So one thing about what we're actually building, because it's the reason this takes an afternoon instead of a fortnight. Every dashboard you've seen in these kinds of videos is a web app. It's a separate program sitting outside the agent, talking through it through an API you have to wire up yourself, which means before you get a single panel, you're building auth, plumbing, and a way to ask the agent what it's doing. This isn't that. This is a plugin. It runs inside DeepSeek Harness, and that matters for a specific reason. The harness already knows all of this about itself. Look at the bottom of the message box. Model, permission mode, turns and steps, time to first token, cache hit rate, etc., etc. It's been tracking every one of those the whole time and printing them somewhere that you might never look. So I didn't build token tracking. I asked for a panel and it read what was already there. That's the difference between a harness and a chat window. A harness exposes its own internals to the things you build on top of it. And that's the whole reason this is possible in one prompt. One prompt, and everything else came out of that. And I'll be upfront. This part isn't special, and it isn't mine. These panels would look the same whether your workspace holds a content vault, a lead pipeline, or a client delivery system. And that's on purpose. This is the foundation. It's workflow agnostic, and I'm going fast because of the interesting stuff that's on the other side. So first up, we have the model that it's running, what it's allowed to touch, then the run numbers. Turns, time to first token, tokens per second, cache hit rate, tokens in and out. DeepSeek Harness already tracks all of this. It just prints it under the message box where you'd never look at it. The panel isn't computing anything new. It's putting it somewhere that you'll actually see. And here's the receipt on the panel you just watched appear. Everyone in this space shows you the finished dashboard. Nobody shows you what it actually cost. Now here is every skill that I've got as a button. Now a skill is just a folder or a file with instructions in it, so it does the job the same way every time instead of improvising. Next up we have the workspace itself. Raw is anything that came in unprocessed. Wiki is what I've turned into structured notes. And these are my folder names because I'm running a content vault. Yours will say something else. Maybe leads, enriched, sent, or briefs, drafts, delivered. The panel doesn't care. It reads whatever is there. And you can visualize the same thing as a graph. Now, there's an honest note about the graph. It looks incredible, and I open it about twice a month. It's here because it's genuinely useful for spotting a note with nothing connected to it, not because I live in it. Anyone telling you the graph is the point is selling you a screenshot. If you strip an agentic OS down, what is it? Folders of instructions, folders of markdown, scheduled jobs, a web page. Nobody's really invented a new thing. Somebody has just named a bundle. And that's the part that bothered me. Every video about this says the same line. The dashboard is only 20 or 30% of the value, and the real value is underneath. But watch what these guys actually do. Nobody builds one on camera. They show you a finished dashboard, they hand you a prompt, and the real setup is somewhere else. I don't think that's cynical. I think it's the web app problem that I mentioned at the start. If a panel is a separate program, you can't build 4 of them in 15 minutes. Now here's what changed my mind, and it happened while I was building this. That last panel was supposed to be the boring one, a folder browser, and it told me something I didn't know about my own workspace. Now, I've been running this vault for months. That's the thing. Visibility isn't decoration on top of the system. It is the product. You can't fix what you can't see the size of. And until 3 minutes ago, I couldn't see any of this. So, the fork. Everything so far, someone can sell you. A skill deck is a skill deck. A folder browser is a folder browser. Same for everyone, which is exactly why they're templatable. But the next four things that I'm about to show you can't be. These things are derived from what's actually in my folders. And that's not a limitation. That's the part that I want you to steal. Because the four panels that we're going to be building out now aren't really about content vaults. They're four questions any agentic workflow can ask. What came in and never got processed? What's gone stale and now is quietly wrong? What files in it actually read to produce that answer? And where am I thin? I'm answering those for a content vault. If you're running lead gen, same four questions, different answers. What leads got scraped and never enriched? Which accounts changed since you last touched them? Which sources fed the email that went out? Which segments you've barely covered? Same foundation, same four shapes, but your folders. And that's what creator mode is actually for. Not that it's faster, that this category of panel can't exist any other way. Quick and straight back, because the last part is the best one. If you run a business rather than a repo, the mistake I watch people make every week is buying the tool first. They see a launch like this, they install it, then go looking for something to point it at. That's backwards, and it's why most of these setups are dead in a month. The order that works: find the one workflow where the same information gets retyped by a human 3 times. That's your bottleneck. Then pick the tool. If you want help finding it in your business, the link's below and we can map it out on a call. And if you'd rather build it yourself, everything here, the vault structure, the prompts, the plugins, is in the community, also below. The panel we're building now is the one that I'd keep if I could only have one, and it's because of how a content vault actually dies. It doesn't die from bad structure, it dies from stuff piling up in raw that never gets turned into anything. Transcripts, notes, saved articles, and nothing tells you it's happening because a folder with 400 files in it looks exactly like a folder with 40. So here's the prompt. Let's hit enter, and we'll come back once the prompt is done. And here is the new ingest queue panel that we've made. You can see that there is one file that has not been ingested. And if we click process, it'll begin the ingestion for us. And we can see each item disappear as and when it gets ingested. The next panel. When you build a second brain, you're going to end up with orphan notes, broken links, wiki pages written from sources that have since changed. Or you have 2 or more pages covering the same thing. This is a real problem of any data system. Data rots. Nobody tells you it rots, and it rots quietly, because a stale data point looks identical to a fresh one. Which is why we're going to build a panel called Vault Health, and it's going to show us all of these weak points, and it's going to fix it for us. So look what it found in mine. I've been running this vault for months, and it's telling me that we have stale files. It's not a great look, but it is the point, because I didn't realize this until this surfaced it for me. Lint is the difference between a vault and a folder. Run it weekly or the whole thing quietly stops being true. If you're doing this for lead gen, accounts whose details changed since you last touched them. Same panel, different rot. Now a quick thing before the next panel, because that's the one that made me stop worrying about whether any of this actually works. If this is useful, subscribe. I'm building this out over the next few videos. Now let's build a panel that turns the vault from an act of faith into evidence. Everyone in this space says grounded in your own knowledge and not generic AI slop, including me in my last video. But you've got no way to check. You read the output, it sounds like you, and you assume it worked. Now I can point at it. Here's the post that it used. Here are the 4 files it came from. And that's the difference between claiming it's grounded and showing it. Let's go ahead and run the prompt. So here's the retrieval trace dashboard, where you can see that I just ran the Hicksfield generate skill. It used these many tokens, and if I click on output, I'll be able to see the exact output that I got from this run. Now for the final piece of this puzzle, we want to see how well covered the topics in my content vault are. In order to do that, we are going to build a panel called coverage. It's not really going to be a graph so much as a ranked list where we can see where the content vault is strong and where its weak points. And this is an important step for visualizing your entire map. The coverage panel is also done, and you can see which of these have the most robust raw sources, and it kind of tells you what information you need to get next. That's a genuinely new piece of information. Everything else on this dashboard shows you what you already have. Now, if you're doing this for lead gen, for example, which segments you've barely touched, same list, but it would tell you where to prospect. So here we are back at the same picture we started on, and the argument is this. The first 3 panels, anyone can build. That's why every video shows you those. And the last 4 exist because they were built against this specific workspace with my folders and my work in them. So don't copy my 4, copy the questions. What came in and never got processed? What's gone stale? What did it actually read? And where am I thin? Point those at whatever your agent is already doing, and the foundation underneath is identical. That's the whole thing. An Agentic OS isn't a product you install. It's what your own workspace looks like once you can see into it, which is why nobody can just hand you one. And for the record, the receipt on all 7 panels. Nobody shows you the finished dashboard, and nobody shows you the bill.